Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 435. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Adam Vale.
How you doing?
I waited for him to finish the sip, you know? Brett Murdoch.
What up, people?
And Brian Manjoma.
What up, what up?
All right, what's up, Adam?
No, I said wet the whistle.
Wet the whistle. There you go, man. No Chris action. I think he's still in Disney World or Land, Manny.
World.
Okay.
If it's Florida, it's World. If it's Anaheim, California, it's Land.
Yeah. I still remember when I went to Anaheim a couple years ago. Brian was like, "Is that one of the 9 realms of Norse mythology?" I'm like, "That's a good question."
Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim,
it wouldn't be Anaheim. It would be Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim. Yeah, exactly. Before we start, I want to make a quick little apology. I was supposed to upload that Tony's Take. I promise. I recorded it, but the audio was fucked up because it was way too windy. You know, the content was good, but I'm like, I got to give you guys something better. So I'll upload it tomorrow, hopefully with less windy conditions. I'm wondering, was today just windy, or is it windy because I was on the roof? I'm not sure which one it is.
I mean, you know what you could do? You could do, right?
What's up?
You know your audio programs when you record, try to record a couple.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I could just let the wind, but the thing is, the wind fluctuates. It's not constant. You know.
I mean, if you have enough of it, you might be able to alleviate a lot of whatever is in there. So
yeah, I'll try it out. It could have just been windy too. Again, because I was like, damn, I'm making some good points, but I'm like, you can't hear some of this shit, you know? And the view was fucking dope. I had Manhattan behind me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try it again tomorrow because your boy got a week off, man. I'm good, you know?
What is this? PTO?
PTO, baby. That's how we do around here, man. It's bad when even my coworkers, I'm like, Tony, you're really bad about taking vacations, bro. Because I don't. I'm like, the last time I took a vacation was in January, at the end of December, and that was everybody gets that vacation. Everybody gets that week off, you know.
I mean, even when before when I was working in animation, I would sort of be weird about taking time off. I was like, I don't need no time.
I mean, I've taken a couple of days off here and there.
Here and there, yeah.
Yeah,
but no.
Yeah, some of them it was because Tony, you worked hard to take a day off, and then obviously Manny, we went to your mom's thing. I took that day off. But other than that, I'm used to working, man. But I know to be completely honest, I've been feeling kind of burned out for a while. But my thing is push through that shit, get to fucking work. And I did push through the burnout and got back to it. But it was like, Tony, you're in a union, bro. Take a break. It's okay. You get paid.
When you're working freelance and stuff like that,
you're used to it. Yeah.
You sort of learn how to work past the burn. In other words, you can, it might take you a little bit of time to get in the groove, but you essentially do some mental gymnastics on yourself, some shit, and then you're able to get through it.
Yeah. And in my case, I'm like, I got the weekends, which I do, But anyway, it'll be nice to take that week off. So who knows what'll happen. Mighty Nerd, Tony's Takes are always a Throwdown thing. I'm not going to upload them anywhere else. So,
nope.
It'll be uploaded on Throwdown. Who knows? Maybe in the future, I'll upload the one I recorded today. Be like, hey, here's the fucked up version, But anyway, let's move on. Let's get into it. Interesting mix of questions tonight.
Okay.
A lot of hypothetical ones, which are weird, but we'll get through them. And one question, very controversial one, literally controversial. So I'm just going to say up front, I am not going to participate in this question. I'll ask it. I'll let the panel do what they're going to do, but I personally will not participate because I like being employed and I don't touch on social stuff, if you know what I mean. All right, let's get into it. Kishak. All right, first up. Are some Xbox fans convinced of a conspiracy that no gaming outlet wants to give Starfield a high score? An Xbox-era co-founder has argued other sites have already decided to give Starfield a 7.0/8.5 reviews in order to generate traffic and drag the Xbox brand down. I don't think I've seen a fan base this downtrodden and are now suffering a victim complex. I remember the PS3 generation being bad, but I don't think it ever got this bad. All right, context, right? I saw this nonsense happening today. Basically, one of the co-founders of this website called Xbox Era, he says that the fix is in and that websites are conspiring to give Starfield a bad score in order to generate traffic.
That sounds bullshit.
I had to call it out. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
That is stupid because nobody ever does. They don't conspire to do that shit.
I mean,
it's the dumbest thing ever. There's fanboys that do it. There's influencers that do it, but like legitimate websites do not do this shit. Illegitimate ones, yes, they fucking do.
Hold up. I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna say it. Like, what about the whole like Gamergate thing and the
but that's
leaked emails that they had and all that good stuff, where you collusion between many big journalist companies.
Yeah, but that's different though.
I'm just saying it's happened before. But I'm not saying it's happening now. I'm just saying you can't just be like that would never happen. I mean, like it kind of did.
So give me one instance where gaming websites colluded to give a bad score to a game.
No, not a bad score to a game. Just like.
That's what I'm talking about. Brett, I'll give you a stronger one that you could have used instead. The collusion that happened, not collusion, but what happened with Hogwarts Legacy. That's a better way of framing it.
I wasn't necessarily trying to. I was just throwing out there like a lot of this stuff sounds kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, like there's a way to frame it. You're like, I mean, you have had like. Kind of cross-pollination between news cycles before. You have had people afraid to give certain things good scores or bad scores because of the backlash that they're going to get from their fan base. And you have had rage baiting in media. So, like, all of the components to this have technically already happened. And again, not saying that this perfect storm has meshed together, but we've seen all of these pieces individually at work. So I'm just saying it's not that ridiculous of an ask. It's a little bit ridiculous, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
But
all right, fair enough. But I'm just saying, again, I've been in this industry for like since 2012, right? I've never seen anybody behind the scenes go, let's fuck with Xbox. The Xbox needs to be brought down a peg. Brett, I'm not discounting what you said because all that is true. I'm just saying when it comes to Xbox specifically, I don't see a conspiracy against the brand in the gaming industry. I've never seen it.
I agree with the statement that you made.
Yeah.
Right. Like I do. And I'm just like in an era where like I don't think that they're going to go, let's give it a bad review score just to piss people off and drive traffic. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
It's happened in movies. It's happened in TV. So I guess I can't say it's definitely not happening here, but I don't think so. But I will say I do think that there is going to be some bias, and I do think that I can see it affecting scores a little bit. Not like, a lot, but like I can see them being afraid of like, you really want to like, yeah, I'm not saying it's going to get this. Calm down, fanboys, but like I can see a situation where people are like, but does it really get a 10 though? Like, are you sure it doesn't get more of a 9? Because it feels like more of a 9 maybe than a 10. I can see that.
Oh, Brett, this is interesting. I'm looking at the chat. They think it's the other way around. They think it's
artificially boosted?
Yeah, they said Bethesda games get they get leeway. This game's probably get a higher score than it deserves. That's interesting.
I will say that is not a collusion thing, but I do think that Bethesda games in general are the darling of people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I feel like
that's something I have seen.
And they will get forgiven for minor slightly. Don't get me wrong. Like,
I think the thing about it is that's like I feel like they can I just think what it is a lot of it is just because of the sheer amount of things that you can do within the game. It's sort of outweighed, and it happened with the Grand Theft Auto franchise too, with how many glitches and things you falling through the ground and all that other silliness. But the amount of stuff that you can do, the plot of the game, all of that sort of stuff factor,
Yeah.
outweigh the underpinnings of all the other parts. So I definitely can see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, like that's more believable because we've seen it before. But even that is not a conspiracy either.
No, it's not really. Yeah, it's not like everybody went together like, oh yeah, man, we're gonna give this game Bethesda's our shit. We're gonna love it. We're gonna give it a high score because it is.
Yeah. That's interesting. By the way, real quick, Dirty Death Dealer, he gifted a bunch of subs to people, man. So shout out to you. Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Logic Wins, he's already predicting a 9 out of 10 from IGN. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think the whole Microsoft bias is kind of silly. I think it's all dependent on their expectations on Bethesda and Bethesda mainline games. And whatever curve they grade this game on is going to be dependent on how these reviewers see Fallout 4, Skyrim, all these types of games.
I feel like it's going to be compared to, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the curve they're going to base it off, not off of is it a Microsoft game? What has Microsoft been doing? Or either way, is it going to boost it or is it going to degrade it?
You guys are giving journalists a lot of credit to not have their personal biases intrude, though.
Well, the thing about it is a personal bias always intrude.
Yeah, personal bias.
Yeah, we are actually talking about that. Like, a lot of journalists love Bethesda games.
Yeah, and a lot of journalists love Nintendo games.
Exactly.
We talked about it last week.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think just because, I think because of just the vibe of things, way people sort of love these sorts of games, they definitely might see it in a more positive light than a negative.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think this game is going to be forgiven to a certain extent,
But at the same time, I'm not. Again, I don't.
But it's not a conspiracy. It's just based on all the journalists I know. Most of them love some fucking Bethesda games. Skyrim is like their god, So I could just like Zelda is their god. So I could see this game. Yeah.
Unless the game is unbelievably egregious. In other
That's
words,
a good point. This game has to be really bad in order to get bad scores because it's already kind of going to get good scores automatically unless it's horrible,
Okay, so let me ask this because I'm kind of the opinion I think you get both. Honestly, I think there are going to be fanboys who are immediately 10 out of 10. You're you haven't loaded the game yet, bro. And then you're going to get other people who are just butthurt and they're going to be like, I mean, it's all right. You're not missing much.
Are we talking about reviewers, or are we just talking about regular people?
We're talking about reviewers. Let's keep it to reviewers, not fanboys.
Yeah, because what Brett's talking about, that sounds like some just regular dude just talking about a game.
Yeah, Brett, we're talking about specifically video game websites.
Yeah, and again, after seeing this whole Zelda thing, I just don't trust that there's not somebody's going to give this a 7. It's going to happen.
Oh, of course. But
somebody might give it even a lower score if the PC version doesn't work.
Oh shit!
A certain game that came out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I think we could all agree there's not. There's not a mass. Yeah, there's either one way or the other. There's no conspiracy here. But
there doesn't need to be. And that's the kind of thing. With the whole Illuminati people sitting around in a room in hooded cloaks. No, man, they don't need to do that. They're called corporations. They do their business in the daylight. You don't need to do that. Does that mean there'll be some asshole who's you know what? I know it'll get clicks. I'm gonna give this a 55.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be some no-name website.
Yeah, there is. There you usually
either that or Jim Sterling or something like
that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, the influencers, that's a whole other story right there. Those guys, who knows what's gonna happen? Blitz goes. Anyone giving a low score will be from a small website. I agree. It's gonna be some no-name website, website that they've never even heard of.
But they always get drowned out by the consensus and the whole thing with Microsoft. Forza Horizon 5 is a first party game, and I think that was a 90 something. So it's not like they're just review bombing. The critics are review bombing Xbox games.
Thank you for saying that because I wanted to ask the question: not by critics, but do you guys think this thing's gonna get review bombed?
Of course,
it's possible. Yeah.
No. Absolutely, it's a fucking exclusive. Every exclusive gets bombed. Watch. I guarantee you it'll get review bombed. That's just
So
how,
we have to break the news story on Throwdown that Starfield is getting a review bomb. Don't get a surprise Pikachu face.
So will Spider-Man 2.
I feel like that game is pretty universally loved.
No, the Xbots, the hardcore guys are gonna shit on it just because, you know.
I don't know any of these hardcore. They must be.
I don't know if there's any
I
bitter
don't know
hardcore
anybody
Xbox
like
left,
that.
man.
Yeah, I
think
don't.
they're
I
just
don't know that crew.
They're like, life, it is what it is, man. They're all just kind of grizzled, broken people now.
I told you guys, it's like almost all the old school guys that are still on my Xbox list. All I see is Hulu, Netflix, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, maybe occasional NBA 2K. It's little things, but they're not.
Yeah,
you know,
no, you know what?
I'm
gonna have to agree with you because I actually literally made that point into Tony's take. I've recorded. I said, think about this.
Right now.
Yeah, no, Brett, think about this. Right during the Xbox One era, right? Xbox guys were fucking fervent in their defense of the system. You don't see that anymore.
No, I mean they've been thoroughly trounced, man. Like,
you're right.
What kind of like
it was whack.
Fighting spirit that like that this point they're just like, I just hope things get better.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Because at least during the Xbox One era, they still had the 360 to go off. Like, oh, we're gonna come back, But they've been waiting 10 fucking years.
Dude, it's hilarious to me that the metaphor of like Xbox fans seem a lot like Wasteland survivors in Fallout. They're just like, yeah, I mean, I built this shack made of junk. It's good. It does. It's fine.
Man, that's a good analogy.
That whole regime just stabbed the 360 community in the head. It was like, you're dead, because first you had all these great games. They had the online service, had all this stuff going. Then the Xbox One comes out, and they're like, "Oh, we're forcing to connect on you, and no backwards compatibility." Yeah, we had some of the those arcade games, the Arcade Wednesdays. You liked it, no more. That's gone too. It was just like one after another, and it sucked. It hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt bad.
It's been 10 years since the announcement, man. TV, sports. All right, let's move on here. Good question, Shaq. Next up, Sir Rich a lot, man. All right.
Whoa. I have a feeling it's going to be a controversial one.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. All right. Horizon Forbidden West, Burning Shores DLC, and Spider-Man 2 are both PS5 console-only exclusives for now. How much longer does the panel think it will be before Sony moves away from PS4 titles and focuses solely on creating games exclusive to the PS5? We talked about this before. I think this is the year. I don't think any other upcoming PlayStation games are cross-platform anymore. We've tried to answer this before and we couldn't come up with any. I think we're done. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I think it's over.
Yeah, and especially, if it's Sony first-party AAA games, for sure.
Yeah, I think, Rich, we're already there, man. We're already there.
We're finally in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that was an easy enough one to answer. Next up.
Yeah, I think if Spider-Man 2 comes out this year, and I'm sure that people have been saying that that's PS5 only. So,
yes.
Yeah, as Tony said, this year.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. Next up here, also from Sir Richard Lot, with the upcoming hour-plus long PlayStation showcase on Wednesday, how much time do you guys think Sony will spend on PSVR 2 and PS5 reveals? This is a good question. I guess we should start with how much time do you think they'll devote to PSVR?
Too much.
Way too much.
Yeah, no matter how long they spend on it, it's going to be too much, I think it's probably going to, I hate to say this, it's probably going to be 60-40, 60% PS5, 40% of PSVR, which is way too fucking much, but yeah, that's probably, you're right, even if it's 10%, that's too fucking much, but that's what I think. I think it's going to probably either be between 40 to 30% PSVR, which is still a lot. That just go to the bathroom during that point, I hope they stick it in the middle so people go take a bathroom break,
They gotta end strong, man.
Yeah, they have to.
They can't. Throw it in the center of it so everybody can go fall asleep, take a little nap, and then wake back up when the real shit starts coming through.
Yeah, I think you're right. They'll probably start heavy, then the bullshit in the middle, and then end it strong.
The middle will be like indie games, VR games. Maybe they'll throw a peripheral in there. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll talk a little bit about that accessibility controller that they have out now that doesn't seem to be getting any play.
Yeah.
You know, they don't seem to be advertising the hell out of it.
Yeah, oh shit! Like, here you go.
It's next week, right?
Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday. So we'll have content. To quote Tony's tweet earlier.
You know, speaking about that tweet, I think I'm going to stop saying that word.
Don't say
content?
it.
Yeah, I'm like, I just thought about why do I say content? What do we produce on Throwdown? Videos, right?
We produce videos.
So I'm just calling it videos. You know, fuck that shit.
We produce a podcast and we produce videos.
Yeah. So there you go. You just call it what it is. Because you're right, content. It means when something means everything, it means nothing. You know.
Oh, those catch-all terms.
Yeah, that's because it is a catch-all term now. You know,
there's a catch-all term.
Anybody. I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No. I was just going to comment on what Kishak said here. When has a show ever had a strong middle? Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, do you remember that middle, son? Like nobody said that shit.
Oh yeah, come on. Yeah. Here's the thing. You know that the middle is always. It's like it's like what is it? Dinosaur High. It's it's you remember that one game for Xbox did the one with the painted stills in it. That was in the middle of the show too.
Yeah.
Man.
So yeah,
hold on, Blitz.
Everybody loads the center of their show with the friggin' nobody's thinking Sakuga, which is the really really cool looking animation in the middle of a show. It's always at the beginning, at the end.
Yeah, but Blitz goes, "What's in your sandwich?" Content.
What's in your what's in your sandwich? It's content.
Yeah, it's definitely like Manny mentioned. The middle part's definitely the dinosaur high power hour.
VR power hour.
And then at the end it's the sizzle reel. Yes. It's a sizzle reel, and then sometimes you'll catch some shit that they didn't even show in the sizzle reel. There's also that.
And some bullshit music.
I'm really want them to get rid of the PlayStation 5 like moving like X's and O's. I think they need to update that a little bit. It's really like I don't know. It's boring.
Yeah.
So
you mean cross?
Cross. See, it's me. Cross.
Yeah, it's not an X. It looks like an X to me. Shit.
Quick behind the scenes thing, or behind the curtain for the fans. Have we discussed about, because you guys mentioned we're gonna have content for that? Did we discuss that in the panel?
Yeah, we did on Thursday. We decided no.
Yeah, you do. I mean, like, here's the thing, because
this is gonna be dumb VR shit. No, forget it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that's what happened on Thursday. We were like, at first, we're like, oh, maybe we should do something about this. Because I was just reading what PlayStation was talking about. Then we got to the PSVR before it's like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it on Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like they're doing this right at the cusp of E3 time.
Yep.
Right. This is their press conference now.
Yo, Manny, guess who's capitalizing on all this on the Sony
Keeley?
stuff?
Is he saying it's part of the summer of games?
Probably is.
Summer Games Fest replied to that PlayStation tweet, and they're like, "And here we go." It's like,
So here. Speaking of Jeff Keighley and Summer Games Fest, Jeff Keighley, he did an interview with David Jaffe.
Really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be coming. Well, he has it on his subscription service, but it's going to be coming up some point next week or so.
Crazy Jaffe?
Jaffe's been doing a lot.
Yeah, crazy Jaffe.
Wow,
he's been doing a lot. He did one last week, 2 weeks ago.
I mean, I guess he didn't burn all the bridges, right? Because Keighley decided to show up on the show.
And Jeff is.
To be honest, most people don't want to touch Jaffe with a 10-foot pole because
exactly
fucking says whatever the fuck is on his head.
And Jeff Keighley's a clean one, so
he's the clean one. So he literally comes in the room with this dirty ass Jaffe, like
But there you go, and that's why he did it, because people are going to want to tune in for it. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
shit,
sure.
why did the clean boy bring the dirty guy
Yeah,
in?
man.
What's up with that?
Yeah. All right. Move on here. Alpha Chuck. All right. The past few years have been very lethargic in terms of new IPs and innovation. How close do you think the industry is to another crash similar to the 80s? Even if this happened, it obviously wouldn't go down exactly the same since the industry is so much larger. What would a crash look like with the current market, and what could be done to prevent it? We get asked this question at least once a year, and I don't understand where it comes from. The
Yeah, I don't
game
know.
industry is nowhere near crashing. It is currently the in terms of like media, the biggest thing out there. It's doing very well. There's no sign of things slowing down. Like obviously there's dips and shit like a month or whatever, but in general, gaming is strong. Nothing's like I don't understand why people keep bringing this up. Like in the 80s, there was a reason for it. Like they just keep releasing bad content, bad hardware.
Things looked horrible.
Yeah.
Nothing looks different. Everything looked like crap, and they never looked like the box art. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Here's
like
the
we're
thing,
not in that position at all. So
Here's the thing,
I just
though,
find it
like-
interesting that this question pops up at least once a year. You know.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I feel like because there is not, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of things that's interesting you. It might seem like the industry is just like losing you. But like the thing about it is, to be honest, like I will say this about the industry now: a lot of mediocrity seems to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now, when you have an industry that's like that, where people are just throwing out like experiences, it's not going to crash.
Yeah.
Something stupidly like literally Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft literally had to fuck up so bad. Like maybe AI units decide to delete all their fucking games.
Yeah, that's what it'll crash. We just have AI made games.
And not only that, it's too ingrained in people now.
It is.
Back in the day, it wasn't a thing. It was like you had to seek it out. Now it's everywhere. It's on phones. It's on mobile. It's on tablets. It's everywhere. So it's in your face.
It was the Atari age was also
the roots are very deep now, Adam.
The Atari age is also the other thing about the like Atari and stuff like that is because they were pretty much the only game in town when it came to the United States. So the reason why they crashed is because they literally almost had a monopoly on the whole system. So they fall apart,
Then everything falls apart.
Then everything falls apart. But yet, at the same time, in Japan, you literally have a healthy industry, multiple consoles at the same time. I mean, the Nintendo Entertainment System was already fucking old by the time, the Famicom was already old by the time it made its way over to the US. They already had 16-bit consoles over there in Japan by that time.
No, not in 1985.
They had they had the MSX, which is a 16-bit computer.
Yeah, computer.
But it was 16-bit.
Yeah, but I'm glad you bring up that point because everybody thinks that the game industry crash was worldwide. No, it was just in America. Like you said, in Japan, things were just fine.
They're fine. They were good.
And now things are again way more entrenched. Games industry, its roots are too deep. There's no crash happening anytime soon. You don't even see any sign of a crash happening with the amount of money this industry is making. Now
the thing is, another company getting into the whole game, games and doing a console. That's a harder one.
Way harder, yeah.
Like right now, like I don't know, like because things are so ingrained. It is all about PlayStation, Nintendo and Xbox. Can another company just decide, all right, we're going to make a console, Well, I mean, that's the question we usually get to. And, not everybody, but most of us think that's not going to happen either. I don't think it's going to happen unless it's an established name. Like if if Sega came from the ashes and say, yes, we're back.
But the thing is, Sega, console. You're right about that. But even Sega, they're making so much money as a third party. They're like, they're
not going to do that. Yeah. They're like, we ain't making no hardware.
And here's the thing, Alpha Chucky's in the chat right now. What's up, brother? I get it. Like again, almost all of us on this panel have said this generation has sucked. But we also have to be objective and be like, yeah, we don't like this generation too much. But the gaming in general is making a lot of fucking money. But again, you also have to remember most of gaming's revenue doesn't come from consoles; it comes from mobile games. And people aren't going to give that shit up.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it. No game industry crash.
Also,
yeah.
real quick, there's a reason why we're not getting as many new IPs, as many new experiences. It's because these companies just go the safe route the whole time, and they've maximized the way that they generate revenue on these games. It's like even Nintendo, it's like amiibos, microtransactions. All of these companies do it. So it's really difficult to fail when you already have the formula. Where innovation is definitely not at the forefront. It's profit.
Especially if it's something that has
who's
high.
slapping something in the background?
That's Brett.
Okay.
The damn dog. Hold on.
Okay.
Especially if it's a company, especially if it's a high budget game. I feel like that's the whole reasoning why, and then people jump down his throat. The previous Sony guy was saying like, no, we need to bring down the budgets of these games so that we can, start creating new IPs. Because if you don't have this incredibly huge investment, you can keep churning out all kinds of new different things and start building new things. Like God of War, the original God of War. Yes, it was a AAA title, but it wasn't like super like top of the food chain until it got to the sequels.
Yeah.
Same with all of those games.
Yeah, no,
they didn't
right.
start out. They didn't start out with $1 billion budget, like Horizon probably did.
Yeah.
But
And The Last of Us, that got the money.
and The Last of Us. I mean, because
but it's coming off of what happened before,
Yeah, it's coming off of their established studio. They know that if they do put a bunch of money into this studio, they're going to produce something that people will pretty much like. So
Yeah.
you get a bigger budget, but like some of the other ones, it's just like you want to. I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a lower tier so that this innovation can happen. Because if you ever look at any sort of innovation, it always happens in the lower space, in the places where they don't need they have one thing that they do good. So like in other words, in the indie space and maybe the middle A space where they're essentially trying things because their budget, that's their thing. Okay, hey, look, we got this crazy looking system in here, and that's our thing that we have in this game. And I feel like a lot of the bigger, AAA games aren't going to do that. They're only going to do it in the graphic space, which is what Brett always talks about. It's like, how come we're seeing all this talk about like, fast processors and all that sort of stuff. How come we're not seeing any sort of advancements in AI? And all we're seeing, is just seeing shinier games.
Yeah, but that's what sells.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing to sell to people.
Yep.
People unless you have, you literally show somebody some pretty graphics and they'll get it. But you need a little bit more explaining. Like, all right, we have this intricate like AI system that blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, so how does this work?
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, that's somewhat a segue to the next question here. Okay, I'll just go. What is more important to a game's aesthetics? Pure graphical power or art direction? Would you rather play a game with meh graphics but good art direction, or a shiny game that pushes the CPU but is very basic in design?
Art direction.
I would go with the art direction.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I want there to be at least a standard when it comes to fidelity, right? I don't think we should accept 720p games on like a fucking modern console. I don't think we should accept low frame rates on a modern console. But you do, as far as aesthetics, you should have both. You should have the ultra realistic games and you have the stylized games. I've always said if every game is super hyper realistic, every game should look exactly the same. That's boring. So you want a good mix of both. But you do need to have at least a minimum barrier when it comes to the fidelity and performance, in my opinion. Right? Again, you already know what I'm going to use that example here, right? How much better would Tears of the Kingdom look on a modern console at, I'm not even going to say 4K. I'm saying 1440p running at 60 frames. That game would look fucking gorgeous because the art style is great. It has a very good art style, but the hardware prevents that art style from really reaching its potential, right? So that's why I'm like, we need to at least have a bare minimum when it comes to fidelity and frame rates to really make stylized games look as good as they possibly can. You know, Hi-Fi Rush, great aesthetics, great performance, and all that stuff. Imagine if that game was running at like 720p at 30 frames a second. It wouldn't look as good. It wouldn't have that smoothness to it. You know.
I mean, there was a wonderful PlayStation title that ran at 60 frames per second and 1080p.
Yeah.
Gravity Rush.
Yeah, Gravity Rush. Yeah, but that was back then. That was still good at that point. I'm talking about try to run that on a 4K. You know, it may be a little dicey.
I think it did get the upgrade, the fidelity upgrade patch on it when it came to the PlayStation 4 Plus.
Yeah, but you're right with the frame rate. That game was already good on the frame rate tip. We don't have to worry about that. Sucks. It would be so good to get that game again.
When I saw Link jumping off the things, I was like, oh man, I know what game that is.
You know. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I think this is actually like one of the easiest questions to answer. And I can answer it in like a very good example. And I know that Brett will smile at this. At some point in time, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind was one of the most like shiniest games out there, right? In the same year, Zelda Wind Waker came out. If you go back now and you look at them both, one of them looks still really good. The other one looks like somehow worse than Fallout 3 does. Obviously, because it's older, but still, that's kind of the point.
Wind Waker really did not hold up.
You can get like these really shiny games, but the problem is that these shiny games just tend to like last maybe a couple of years, like 3-4 years maximum. And then when you go back and watch them, you're like, ooh, this doesn't look all that nice anymore. Again, same thing. Go back and look at the first Uncharted. Like, I'm sure that when we all first played it, we were like, "Oh wow, this game looks amazing! Like this is the next gen." But then now it's just like, ooh, it's kind of a bit, you know.
You know what game still looks great? Beautiful Joe.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. Very stylized. And Brian, just to amplify your point, this is why 16-bit stylized games still look good, right? But try to go back to 32-bit games that tried to look realistic. Kind of rough. Kind of rough.
Fighter? What?
Yeah. Basically, stylized games, they will continue looking good, like Beautiful Joe. They will always look good, right? Whereas realistic games, depending on the hardware, they may look kind of suspect when we get better hardware down the line, you know? Like, yeah, remember that? Like, what was it? Fight Night 3, I think it was, on 360. People were like, holy shit, this is crazy. Now you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, you know? Or even, let's go even further back a little bit, right? Remember, it was I think it was a Madden game on Dreamcast. That shit looked crazy back then, right?
That was NFL 2K.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what it
would look real. That looks so real.
Yeah. But look at it now, you know? While... And this is a game that was both graphically good and stylized. Soul Calibur still looks pretty good. It's just the fidelity ain't there, you know? Yeah, Fight Night 2. Yeah, man, I'm telling you. So Brian, yeah, just to your point, like, hyper-realistic games age badly. You know? They really do. All right, good question. We always get this question on Beast Once here, but, it's always fun to answer it. All right, Lego Bro. He asked us what we hope to see at PlayStation Showcase. Refer to the Thursday episode. We answer that. So his other question is, this is related to the one we just answered. How important are character animations in video games / what games have the best animations?
Best animations. I mean, it's sort of a different bag. It sort of depends on the type of game that you're working with, you know. Especially for a game like Street Fighter, animation is actually very important.
Yes.
Because especially for readability of frames. Fighting games, their animation is always meant to be able to do that sort of stuff. But I mean, for I don't know, like hand animated stuff like Hi-Fi Rush, which is going for a more of a sort of animation sort of feel. I think it just sort of depends on the game that you're trying to portray.
Yeah, because like extra animations could, to me, I think they kind of help you immerse you. Like going back to the first Uncharted, like it was crazy that when you got Nathan Drake near a wall, he'll just automatically touch it on its own. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. Those little things kind of help.
Or he had a variable run. Like
Yeah.
in other words, he would change around the way he sort of runs, depending on the terrain and all that other stuff. They sort of build that sort of realism.
Yeah, exactly. And then some of the tech in like Uncharted 2 was like this was like for now people are like, oh, that's quaint, but it was cool back then. Like during that train sequence, like the cups when the train sequence and when the building was shaking, the cups that had water, the water was moving independently. Like that was crazy back then. And then obviously they made that even bigger with the third game,
boat.
right? Where you were on a boat and it like the shit was independently moving inside of it, inside the water. Like that kind of stuff, like you don't need it, but it's fucking cool,
I mean, that's not officially, that's not animation, that's more physics.
Yeah, it's more physics. Yeah, I'm just saying that's why I said it's kind of related, but not exactly the same. Yeah. But yeah, little things like that to me,
or
yeah.
Or even to go back to the day, like the waiting animation for Sonic. No other games had that, where he just left them for a while and he just sort of like, tap his foot.
Tap and look at you.
Yeah, he look at you like, what are we doing? What are we doing here, man?
You
Let's
know?
go. Yeah, no, those things are fun. But you're right, for fighting games, animation is extremely important.
Yeah, I mean, like, going back to like games like God of War, like where people were getting up in arms that they were using animations, but it's like, you're doing kind of the same things in God of War, the sequels, right? So you're still pushing a boat around, you're still throwing your blades of chaos and stuff like that. So for the most part, all those games sort of stayed, the animations stayed fairly close to each other. So, and if it worked in the previous game, why redo it so much for the sequel?
Yeah, it worked. All right. Anybody else have anything else to say about animations and games?
I mean, it's always, just like having those little bit of flourish it was always nice to have,
Yeah, for sure. All right, move on here. Jay Shep. Right, here's another one that we've been asked before, but I'll let it go because we don't have. I mean, we got a decent amount of questions, but some of these are like are simple answers this week. Besides games, what are some of the biggest improvements that you'd like to see made for each of the three next-gen consoles, next generation? So, like, basically, what do you want to see in the next PlayStation, next Nintendo, next Xbox, etc.? Besides, not just games, like other innovations.
Like, tech innovations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Adam, this is your question.
Adam, this is you, man.
I gotta follow Steam's lead, just with that overlay and how everything is so integrated. If you're stuck on a certain part of the game, you just pull up the overlay, you can type what you want, or at least on the console, you'll be able to just say whatever you want, and then it'll just bring up a bunch of material, whether it's websites or video or something, all within the overlay. You don't have to open up other tabs, do that type of stuff. The Xbox was on, the only main feature I liked about the Xbox One was when they had the snap feature, where you could actually say, on Xbox Snap YouTube, and then boop, 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 it would pop up, and then you could do a search and you could watch along what you were doing and try to, strategize and stuff like that. But that's gone. So if they can come up with a good way of overlaying, just following Steam's lead of that overlay, that interface, just that feel of community, because they're constantly trying to do it in both consoles, but it's like you got to go in the menu, got to go here, click here, just have it seamless. If they can just follow that lead, because it's out there, we know it can be done, because it's on, even on the Steam Deck. That's one of the beauties of it. It's the fact that you press one button and poof, you got your notifications, you got everything there, performance, whatever you're looking for, nice and clean. So that's what I'm looking for, a better user experience. Upgrade the UI. Don't keep taking features away and then trying to give it back later on and push it as new. That whole thing with the PS4, we had folders and stuff. Yeah, it came later, but we figured that's a mainstay. And then PS5 comes out and it's like, no, we took the shit away again. That's why. And in the background,
isn't it renamed? I think Riku was saying it was renamed to.
They brought it back. They brought it back. Yeah,
it's called like Library or something like that.
Yeah, they did some shit and they brought it back. It's like, well, it shouldn't have been taken away. And then I liked where you had themes. The dynamic themes was awesome on the PS4 with the music and stuff. No, that's gone. Now we got to hear the same damn little jingle the whole time, just like if it was a Vita.
And
Yeah, and that too was another issue. It's like, but eventually they did come up with theme packs and they replaced it. They had an Uncharted one and a few others, but that came so much later. And I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I mean, you can charge for it. Clearly, they know they can make money because they did that on the PS4. They charged for it. And on the Xbox end, they don't have any of that. It's just like upload whatever image you want. It doesn't matter. They do have a few dynamic ones, but I wish they did a little bit more with that and it will give you the ability to put some music or something, just to put some life. But yeah, for me, it's a UI. Really upgrade the UI. Don't have to copy Valve and how they're doing it, but just embrace that. Like simple things that they have that could carry over and make all the difference in the console.
Yeah. What about the rest of you guys?
Let's start with bigger SSDs than we've been getting.
Oh my God, yes. Like I think it should be a 2 terabyte minimum. You know,
I would say just give us 5. You know,
that'd be
SSDs
nice.
aren't.
I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic.
No,
I
you
don't
gotta
think
be
they're giving us
realistic, man.
5. That'd be
A 2
fucking
terabytes.
dope. Yeah,
That still costs like 400 standalone.
yeah, yeah. I know, but
you know,
yeah,
Just for that.
yeah, but you know, but
Yeah.
Carlos, that's what you want. You get it, man. 5 terabytes. Let's go. You know,
it's in the future. The prices are going to go down.
Yeah.
It's still going to be. I'm pretty sure it's still going to be NVMe type technology,
Yeah.
just a different version of 5.0, 6.0, whatever we're at that time.
I feel like it'll never go down just because of the resources, the mining, and that's pretty much all done in China. So until we find another source to
until
find,
we start
that
mining
can
them
mine.
asteroids,
Yeah,
son.
Exactly,
You know?
mine the asteroids. If you start mining somewhere else, go to Mexico, some other areas, and that's it. Then the price will definitely go down. But
Yeah.
I feel like they got that market cornered for materials for. That's just
And just to add to what you said, Carlos, it's already easy, but just make it very easy to swap out a new hard drive if you want. You know, that'll be good. Yeah, I think that's my main one because
Xbox did.
Yeah, Xbox absolutely did. You know, just stick it in
Just
there.
put that
You know?
shit in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect example, actually. You know, what about you, Brian? What innovations do you want to see?
I want to see actual competition from these consoles that do something different because for the most part, they just do the same thing and just kind of dull. Like what features actually separate these consoles apart from each other? Like even I have a hard time of like pinning down exactly what makes each one different. I mean,
The only one, Brian, is the Switch. You know, because we could take it off the dock or whatever. But you're right.
yeah, it's like, I don't know, just something different. I'm not saying now, yeah, it needs to like walk around and do backflips. I mean, just something that differentiates itself from the rest of the pack of just being, hey, it's a box that sits there and does nothing. It's like, okay, at least the what's it called Xbox One tried to do something where you can like do like pass through with your HDMI
cable,
stuff.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, that was a cool idea. You know, it's like it becomes a box where you can pipe in other stuff too. That's fine. That's a good idea. It's trying something. Now it's just like, oh yeah, we play Blu-rays, we have Spotify, we have web browsers. Like, yes, but do you do anything different? Because, like, what apart from playing these games, what do you do differently to my phone? And the answer for the most part is nothing really. So it's like, you know, like add in some extra value to the console rather than just, oh yeah, we play these games and that's it, and you pay us for online.
What ways do you think they could add more value?
I don't know because I can't think of anything because I've just been completely deflated by these consoles. Like this is what I was arguing about last generation. It's like like apart from the games, the consoles just do the same thing. Like at least the Xbox tries with the pass through. The Kinect, you could kind of argue, but then again, that's a peripheral, not an actual feature. Stuff like being like again to organize your stuff. I thought that was a really cool idea. You can organize your folders into your games in different folders for different reasons. I actually did this with my PS3 games. I know, right? Yeah. Where I'd have them in. Okay, here's my games to complete. Here are games I have completed. Here are games that games to complete. Games I completed but I liked, but I'll replay again. And then some other games where it's like, okay, I'll touch these if I'm bored or something, or some other categories. But that, I think, was just a really cool feature to have where you can just integrate, where you can just organize your stuff. I like to organize my games because I have quite a lot of them, especially now with PlayStation Library. I have so many games. I would like to organize them into games I've played, games I've not played. But yet, in my PS5, you just said, okay, here's all your PSN Plus games. It's like it's organized by alphabetical order. It's like, okay, that's fine, I guess, but it's a lot of them. Like I don't want to scroll down the list to find the one that I'm looking for. So at least allow me to say, okay, here's games I completed and I'll play, or here's the games that I not completed, or something.
Well, that's one of the things I loved about on the Xbox that they have now. You create the folders and then you click on a game and it says, hey, what do you want to send it? So I have a backlog. I have my shooters, my fighters, games that just work with the racing wheel and just break everything down so it's easy to find. So it's not just one big jumble of games.
Or have a thing where it automatically catalogs your games. So let's say kind of like how Steam does with the Steam tags, where it says, okay, here's all your, again, like Adam says, here's all your shooters, here's all your action games, here's all your RPG games, so that they're in automatic folders. So that way you can just go through, find the folder and say, okay, let's look at games that are RPGs. Boom. All your RPG games that you have bought are in that folder, in that listing, in that tags. I don't know. And it's just there. It's a small thing, but it's very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Innovations? All right.
Just give Adam that suit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. The suit.
I wanted to get a suit like that before I die. And then if I do get to that point in my deathbed, I want to wear the suit with me. So when I go to the afterlife, I'm prepared. That is what I want.
Adam, and this is and if this is too personal, let me know. Would you want to be? Would you, if you were to get buried, would you want to have anything like a totem with you?
Oh shit! He's about to get something. I thought he was gonna bring out the whole arcade. The Game Boy. Let's go.
Yo,
this is going with me everywhere. This is it. This is if I'm like, oh, I gotta go. Oh. That's it. This is it. This what really changed everything for me. Just the fact that you could take the game.
That's the Game Boy for you people listening. He brought out a real Game Boy, the old school, the real school.
Well, a modded Game Boy.
Well, yeah,
it's got a better screen
IPS
light.
screen. Yeah, this is an IPS screen from any angle. This is beautiful. This back. And I have
our Game Boys didn't do
that.
Shit.
Oh no!
Remember, we had to buy that
because
fucking peripheral and the magnifying glass.
That's the thing.
Remember
that screen died out on me a long time ago. Then I have this Everlast drive here where I put a micro SD and I have every single Game Boy game and Game Boy Color game loaded on here.
Good shit.
Go. Here, I was playing Motocross Madness.
Nice.
All
right, moving on here. Another one from Jay Shep. Both the Sonic and Mario Brothers movies were great successes. Is there any chance we'll get a Sonic plus Mario movie crossover?
Depends on the movie, who the studios are, who are making it. What Sonic is Paramount, right? And
no, they're Universal. Wait, oh no, it is Paramount.
Yeah, Sonic is Paramount, and Mario Brothers is Universal. So they'd have to talk to each other, and you know how movie studios are about talking to each other.
Unless the only way I could see something like that is if they do like one of these crossovers, sort of like what they did with the games, the Olympics and stuff. If they do something similar to that in a movie where it's like Ultimate Mario Kart the movie race, and they grab different mascots from other games and stuff. You'll have a Rayman in a vehicle, throw them all in, then see Sonic and friends.
And also, the thing about it is that Sonic is also like movie Sonic is actually a little more hyper realistic than Mario is.
Yeah,
because Mario comes from a world of people that sort of look like him. But we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Sponsored question here, but this one I like how it was done. It was one of the fans volunteered to sponsor a question. So Ace Ali
can do that, guys.
Yeah, you
by
can
the
do
way.
that. It doesn't just have to be just us. So
Yeah, if you like a question, you can sponsor somebody else's question.
Yeah, so Ace Ali, thank you for stepping up. He took one of Jay Shep's extra questions. So the question is, Jim Ryan recently did an interview where he promised to increase the number of PS5's exclusives and understands the importance of its console. In the same interview, Ryan mentioned PS5 exclusives will be coming to PC 2 to 3 years after the initial release. What are your thoughts on all this?
That was a big one.
I mean,
that was a big one.
That's
that's not the case for a lot of these games. Well, Returnal was that they published it, right? But it's not a first party. I don't.
No,
Well,
it's
it
a
is
first
now.
party.
It is first party, yeah.
It is because
Well,
that was within
it
the
is
same
now
year.
because they bought them after the game.
Yeah.
All right, they bought them
Yeah,
out
they bought
because
it.
that came out within the same year. A few months later, next year it was on PC. So
Here's the thing. Like, I think it also depends on the game. I don't think this thing where he's like, oh, it's going to come out 3 years after. No, it's going to be their big cornerstone ones. It's going to be like Wolverine. You're going to see in 3 years. But like for a smaller game, you're going to see it pretty close. I mean, to be honest, Death Stranding didn't take 3 years, right?
No, it didn't.
Well,
Not at all.
It took longer, right?
No, it took
No,
less.
No. It took
Death Stranding came
3
out
years?
pretty fast. It came out
Yeah,
like
the
a year
PC
after.
version
thought
came
some-
out a year or two after,
Yeah.
right?
I thought it was like a couple months after. Like
Yeah, it was
No,
9
it
months.
was very
To 10
fast.
months?
You're right.
Yeah, it also
Oh,
depends
okay.
on the game, but I also think that Kojima also has a deal with with rights to the concerning the other platforms that game can be on, like PC versions.
Real quick, hey Brian, check this out. So, came out in 2019 for PS4, and then July 2020 for Windows. So that's pretty fast. You're right about that.
Yeah, so they came up.
Yeah,
pretty
I
quickly.
knew it wasn't even a year. Yeah.
No, it wasn't that long.
No.
So I think it also
For
depends
Death
on the
Stranding,
title.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when it comes to I think for their big games, like the ones that y'all like are chopping at the bit
Spider-Man.
one.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a while. Like Ratchet and Clank hasn't even touched on PC, has it?
Yeah.
No.
But you know,
How long? And it's been over 3 years, right?
I mean,
Yes, it has. Yeah.
I think I personally think it's a numbers game, and they go based off of that. So if it's not doing strong numbers, then get it on as many platforms, get on PC, so that way they can try to drive, boost that revenue.
It's a shot in the arm
Mhm.
when they're essentially the game has sort of run its course.
But
And it seems like whenever when the game has sort of run its course, then they start to do the PC initiative. Go ahead, Carlos.
I also think it is a numbers game, but it's also a numbers game the other way. I wonder how many of these games Sony's thinking, is it even worth porting? Like, do we want to put the extra resources on getting this thing ported into PC?
Maybe that's the reason why Ratchet.
They said they were making money.
Ratchet and Clank didn't make too much money, so that's probably why they're not.
Maybe that's why they're not even
yeah.
bothering with it.
Yeah, you're right. It is a numbers game, like you guys said. So I agree with that.
So yeah, you'll see Horizon 2 on there in 3 years. When did Horizon 2 come out? Last year, right?
Last year,
2022.
So yeah, they got at least 2 more years till it goes out.
Yeah, or another year. Who knows?
Or another year.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
Question.
Oh, good.
The question asked what we thought about the statements, and obviously the rhetoric about releasing more first party games is always a good one. But
the thing about it is like that's just water in a river, like dripping, pouring water, pouring a glass of water into a river. Like, number one, it's like, okay, if he makes a promise now, that's not good. We're not gonna see that shit for like another 5 fucking years.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Oh, we're gonna get more games out. What does that fucking mean?
Yeah,
I mean, what other answer did anyone expect to say? It's like, oh, we don't know.
We're gonna have less games.
No, he's not gonna say we're gonna have less games.
Exactly. He's not gonna say that.
He said the usual marketing bullshit that anybody at a head of a company would say. Yes, we're going to work on where we understand that first parties are the thing that makes our company go. Call of Duty.
Without that, we fail.
Without Call of Duty, I mean Horizon Zero Dawn, we will fail.
Man.
I think in general, it's just he said what he's going to say, but again, when are we going to see a lot of these? Will you make this promise now? When are we going to see these games? See, that's the thing that these interviewers don't fucking get into. They ask the question or whatever, but they never ask the follow up. Okay, so if you're promising all these games, then when are these titles are we going to start seeing them?
Yeah, but the thing is, he's not going to answer that directly.
He's not going to answer it, so it's bullshit. You know what? What's his face would have done at least a better job of kind of giving you a time frame, right? Uncle Phil.
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah, but even that is kind of moot too because he gave a time frame and none of those games came out.
I mean, there's also that,
right?
Yeah, there's also that.
He gave you a time frame.
So yeah, you know what? To
be honest, if I was there as a journalist, I wouldn't ask that question either because it's a pointless question.
It's a pointless question. It's kind of like when Jeff Keighley says you have any exclusives, and he knows they're not going to give him any fucking exclusives.
Yeah,
but he's just hoping that they slip up and they're like, well, there is this one game, and it's like, oh, and then they get in trouble for it afterwards. But
yeah,
but yeah,
my thoughts are: what is he lying about this time?
Lying Ryan.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like we have to hear the whole interview, and we have to find the things he's going to lie about.
He's lying about something. I don't trust this man.
I mean, he could
after the whole "we believe in generations" nonsense. It's like you're very suspect, mate.
Okay.
I'm just saying. That's just my
I don't disagree with that, Brian.
We're gonna make a PlayStation SE.
Damn.
That'll be the next ones.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Mob hits. This first question is this question is interesting to me.
Okay.
I'll read it and then we'll see if we can figure this out. It's a hypothetical one too. Could Sony sell off its financial group to gain money for future acquisitions? If this happened, would there be the same negative backlash that Microsoft is receiving from its bid to acquire Activision? Financial group?
I think he's talking about that other how they do insurance.
Okay, yeah.
Remember that?
You're right about that. But my question is, again, I don't understand why people just assume, oh shit, Microsoft's making all these acquisitions. Sony has to do this. Like, no, they don't, man.
No, they don't.
It does. And even if they sell it, that group is not worth $70 billion.
Yeah, it's not at all.
Yeah, there's Sony Bank, there's Sony Life, there's Sony Assurance, and then
they still make TVs, electronics. They got the movies.
Yeah, so like basically to me, the question implies that they need to make an acquisition, so they have to sell off a division. No, they don't.
To be honest, like Sony needs to go back to basics and start fucking building their shit instead of buying all these other companies.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is that there's very few companies that have as deep a pockets as Microsoft. So it doesn't matter what they sell. That's 70 something. That's ridiculous money. That's. Not everybody has. There's a reason why so many like Google and all of them all passed on this.
Sony can't compete with Microsoft on pure money. No way.
And I mean, and to be honest, like Sony has a lot of different arms in a bunch of different sections. It's not only their game division. The game division is only granted the game division and possibly the movie division possibly make the most money for the company, but they're not going to just dump everything, dump their music division and all the other parts of it just to just push this other initiative.
Exactly.
I mean, just for context, there's only like one other company that is at the level of Microsoft, and that's Apple. And then there's only two other entities that can do something like this, and these are the Saudi princes or the CPP. There's literally almost nothing.
And you got to be careful with those ones because those Saudi guys, they literally have these alternate companies that are literally government owned, acquiring companies. In fact, one point they were trying to buy the WWE, so it's like that's fucking weird.
I thought they did.
No, they didn't. They're merging with UFC.
Yeah, they're creating a new company name for both. It's gonna have some new name.
Real quick here, Blitz says, I think this is relating to Sony announcing they are looking to spin off their financial business in Japan. There's a Financial Times article of Sony considering spinning off their financial arms. Oh, all right, cool. Thank you for letting us. But again, I don't think they're doing this just so they can make make more game acquisitions.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
impetus here.
And the
Yeah.
thing about it, just be like, like they're spinning off their financial arm. What, they could just become a subsidiary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But thank you
Yeah,
for
well,
adding context, because I didn't know what he was referring to.
And spin off does not mean that they're selling off. It just literally means they're spinning off into
Yeah,
another
exactly.
company. The whole thing
Give it a new title.
the whole thing with this is Sony's market cap is $123 billion right now, and most of what they're worth is PlayStation, movies, electronics, and there's no way the math works out whenever you try to think about their financial business ever equating to 70 billion of it. So that's like well over half of what they're worth.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Got another one from Mob Hits. All right. Should console controllers have universal cross-platform functionality? Basically, should a PlayStation controller work on Xbox, Xbox on PlayStation, etc.?
I thought they already
They
do.
They do.
They
And
do, don't
if
they?
not, there's converters that'll make it work. The Bluetooth, that was the whole reason why with the Xbox One, it was garbage because it didn't have Bluetooth and it only worked on an Xbox One. Then later they came with the Bluetooth and that one works on PC and all the other ones. Your
I think-
PS5 can still work on your PC and stuff like that, but it won't have all the functionality with the haptics.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the
Yeah, 'cause
Switch.
I'm like-
it
it's
actually will.
Go ahead.
Hold on, I need to correct that. It actually will.
will
I
pick up the
tried it
haptic?
on what you call it? What's that vampire game? Ghostwire Tokyo. It had the haptic triggers.
Oh, nice.
I can confirm that of personal experience.
That's what we like.
There we
That's what we
go.
like to hear, man. Oh yeah, because I was like, hold on, it's all Bluetooth. Shouldn't they all work together?
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. They do all work. All right, another sponsor question. This one from the generous one, Mr. Romulan. Mob Hits extra question. With so many games having been released and on the horizon, is 2023 the biggest year for games that we've had in a while? For this generation, it is. Absolutely.
If it sticks to the release plan, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but even right now, at this point, we already got a bunch of games. Even now,
I mean, Zelda. We got
Star Wars. The
Redfall,
Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4. Yeah. So good or bad, good and bad. We've gotten games.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush.
Wait a minute. Wait, what was the question?
Is this the best year of this generation so far?
Best year so far? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
we got the Street Fighter coming. And,
yeah, Street Fighter's coming. That's right.
Lego Arcade Racing
Spider-Man.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think this year's gonna be a winner.
Yeah.
It's already looking better than is better than previous years. So it's an easy one. All right, moving on here. Another one from Kishak. A very hypothetical question here. How well would a Bloodborne remake sell? Everyone on the internet says we all want it, and you may joke in saying I'd buy 2 copies for myself, but let's be serious here. Bloodborne got a 91 on OpenCritic and sold 2 million by the end of 2015. Maybe now it's closer to 3 million, but who knows? Seems to me only will be a cult hit, not worldwide appeal like Elden Ring. Yeah, it's not going to sell Elden Ring. No fucking way,
No.
But I don't want to speculate on how much it'll sell. Who knows, man?
It has to be good.
It has to be good, yeah.
The Soulsborne franchise wasn't as big back then as it is now. So
Yeah.
the Elden Ring, even though it's not gonna, it probably wouldn't oversell Elden Ring.
No.
Elden Ring's existence helps out a Bloodborne type game,
Yeah.
just because there's a lot more eyes into these franchises than there used to be.
Yeah, but Carlos, that was the best-selling Souls game of the time. Because the thing is, the series has always been on an upward trajectory, right? And then with Elden Ring, it went like from a steady slope to like a fucking, like just vertical jump,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll do well, but you're right. I don't think it'll be like mass hit or whatever. And I'm saying this as a Bloodborne fan. Bloodborne is still my favorite, a game of Soulsborne game just because they got me into the shit. Really got me into it. But it ain't beat out no motherfucking Elden Ring. That's for sure. By the way, see, and here's because people can't make a distinction between because they think my favorite is the best. No. For example, Bloodborne is my favorite Soulsborne game, but the Elden Ring's the absolute best, like without question.
Yeah.
It's fucking great, man. All right, moving on. We got Dumeke in the house, who's also joining us in the chat as Blitz. This one's a fun question. What would it take for you to leave/abandon your current preferred console to play on, be it PC, PS, Xbox, Nintendo? I know many are across multiple systems, but you will all have a preferred ecosystem, and I wonder what it would take.
Can I ask? Can I direct that question to someone?
Sure.
Adam.
It's the interface. I did it already.
Yeah, because I was Steam Deck. Steam Deck is the biggest current example for you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that thing. But for that to fall apart, is that what you're saying? Like,
no.
Yeah,
I know what he said.
By the way, Adam,
I had
just for context, your favorite platform currently is the Steam Deck, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
now it is. Yeah. But the thing is, I've done this big jump before.
Yeah.
Remember with the Xbox, when I was all about the original Xbox 360, that was it. I got a PS3 later on, but that was only for some of the exclusives like Last of Us, Uncharted. But my primary was the Xbox One, day one, and then I just hated it. I could not get into that interface, and I loved the interface of the PS4. And then I remember it was on this show. I said, you know what? I'm switching. This is my primary, and that's it. I rarely went on it besides playing Gears games with my buddy whenever that came out, but that was it.
Yeah. No, there you go, people. For Adam, you've literally seen it happen live.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
So
for you, for me, it's UI,
interface.
No, it makes sense. Okay, so for me, my preferred one is PlayStation. What would it take me for? And by the way, the next alternative would obviously be PC. But yeah, just no good games anymore. No first party games, because that's the main reason I play PlayStation. I love the first parties, right?
Same here.
So that's, I guess, Manny, our answer is the same. We would leave PlayStation if they don't give us the first party.
We go where the games are, man. If Xbox is killing it and I'm just not seeing it on the PlayStation there, then I'm out. You know.
But yes, Blitz, you're right. Obviously, most of us here, we buy all the systems, so the question is a little moot, but we are, honoring the spirit of the question here. But for me, I would go over to PC if PlayStation wasn't giving me the exclusives anymore. I know that's kind of a cheat because PC, you got Xbox as well, but that's what I would do. You already know, no fucking way am I making Nintendo a primary console. Like, if I had to make Nintendo my primary console, I would just stop gaming. Period. Like, fuck that shit, So that's me. Let's keep going down the line here. Brian, this will be interesting because your primary platform is PC.
Yeah, it's a tough one because basically they'll just have to stop doing everything that makes them good at what they do best. So stop having like random games on there that you can't get anywhere else. Stop having like really good price games. Stop having just a nice way to interact with stuff. Again, for example, the Steam Deck, and just say, okay, let's just take your games and you go. Even this pseudo extends to stuff like Game Pass, where I can play a game on my PC and then say, okay, cool, I'm done with it. Pick up my Steam Deck and then carry on that same game where I left off. There's no issues, no problems, no nothing, or even non-Game Pass games, like just pure Steam games. Okay, I start playing that Steam game, jump on my Steam Deck, just carry on.
Finish up, right? Because I got a question for you here in the chat.
Yeah, so it's going to be very difficult, and it's stuff that's out of the hands of the people that deal mostly with PC gaming that things will have to change. For example, again, prices. That's one of the reasons why I play on Steam, on PC, because the prices are just a lot more reasonable. And the sales, there's competitiveness. Like I'm waiting for like 4 or 5 games to come on sale. When I do, then I'll snap them up. Whereas on PlayStation, they just don't seem to hit that price point where it's worth it.
Yeah. Brian, so a question for you from Blitz. Ask Brian, would these poor ports that are a thing lately be a reason to leave PC for you?
No, because the poor ports only happen to games that I don't care about that much. That's why I've not been complaining about them. It's like, yeah, they've been poor ports, but it's games that I don't care about playing. For example, Hogwarts Legacy. I don't care about the game. My girlfriend loves it, but I got it for her on PS5. Star Wars Jedi Order or Survivor. I still haven't even started playing the first one yet. That's how bad it is.
Damn.
Well, that's how bad the situation is. What else? Dead Space remake.
The Dead Space one.
Last of Us. You played that Last of Us already. You know.
Last of Us. I played it. I'm not going to pay for it again, and I didn't like it. So, it's like it's bad port of games I don't care about. Like Redfall, it runs somewhat okay, but again, I got the Game Pass, so I'm not that fast. If Redfall was just like Cyberpunk levels of just doesn't run, then I'd be like, okay, that's fine. It's a game I didn't care about, and honestly, it's a game that was not even on my radar, and I'm playing it just to try it out and see. And is it really that bad? Like most games I try because I want to see if they are really that bad, because it's fun and exciting. So the last game that was a quote-unquote bad port or bad condition was Cyberpunk for me, that I was interested in. So yeah, these bad ports, unless it's something that's major and it's consistently like really terribly bad, where there's like a noticeable difference, like Last of Us on PC and PlayStation, possible. But then again, there's just so many other things that it's just not worth it for me.
Brian, another question for you here, also from Blitz. Okay, what if PC games started falling in line with console game prices? I already know the answer to this one. Go ahead.
Oh, if they did,
Brian, I'm just gonna say you don't buy games day launch anyway, so what do you care?
Yeah, I don't buy them on. Yeah, true. I don't buy them on launch, but let's carry on with like the hypothetical, right? Okay, let's say that for some odd reason the prices are just synced regardless. So if they're on sale on console, they're on sale on PC for the same price. So no matter what, they're guaranteed to be the same price on no matter what day it is. Would I consider? Potentially, but then again, it's not just one thing. It's like one out of many things that have changed. And unless all those many things change, then yeah. Again, I still have Game Pass. So hence, it's like, okay, prices can fluctuate. But again, I'll just play through Game Pass, or I'll wait until it's on sale. And then it's negated either way.
Yeah. Real quick, Drunken Guardian asks, wait, Tony owes on Switch? I pre-ordered a Switch. I had that shit since day one, man. When I saw that they actually had a real controller with a Nintendo console after like 15 years, I'm like, okay, Nintendo, I'll give you another shot, right? And initially, I was not super impressed, but I'm like, I like Mario. This is cool. And then, the Switch was just a huge disappointment ever since. But yeah, I've had a Switch since day one, and that console lets me know I will never buy another Nintendo console again, because it's literally the biggest disappointing console I bought. The 32X was more enjoyable than this shit, all right. Did everybody go? The fuck was the question?
I'll go real quick.
Platform. Yeah. What would it take for you to ban? Oh yeah, and I got to get that. Hey, Brett, are you there, man?
Yeah, I just had my mute on.
Okay, cool. Okay. Carlos,
I was wondering why y'all was ignoring me. I was like, fine, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, where's Brett? I was like, something happened with his dog. All right, since I miss hearing your voice, maybe you could answer next. What is your platform? What is your current platform of choice, and what would it take for you to abandon it for another one?
Bro, I don't really have one. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but like me more than anybody, like I'm a straight mercenary, bro. I'll play anything. All you need to do is show me a good game.
Yeah, fair enough. Go ahead, Carlos.
So wait,
Yeah.
You want to play a good game, right? So does that mean that you would abandon your all of your consoles for a cell phone?
If the game were good enough.
All right.
I mean, I play all consoles. I play tabletop. Like, I play all kinds of different shit. It's just wherever you get a cool game experience.
Cool. All right, Carlos, go ahead, bro.
I think for me, it's I'm a little bit like Brett. It just really depends. I think the bigger question for me is where do I play my third party games? And those are usually on the PlayStation, just because that's where most of the people that I play online with reside in. So yeah, for example, my console, and it depends because back in the days there was really a huge discrepancy in the titles that used to play in the consoles. Hardly much anymore. The SNES was my preferred console. The N64 was my preferred console. The Xbox, the regular Xbox was my preferred console. Then the 360, and then the PlayStation 4. But those were the days where there was actually a lot of differences between consoles and the games that came out for them. But these days, like Brent mentioned, it's more of a mercenary kind of move because, I've never not had, never not had all the consoles, all the main ones at least. So not including like those weird ones like the Jaguar and the those type of consoles and the Neo Geo.
Jaguar.
Remember those commercials? The Jaguar.
That's how they say it in the UK. The Jaguar.
The Jaguar. Shit is crazy. You Brits are wild, man. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, so I guess my console, my main console, in quotes, is the PS5, but it's not like I'm playing on it that much more than the other ones, like or on the Steam Deck or on the Xbox. I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch, and before that, I was playing Redfall on the Xbox, and before that, I was playing Star Wars Fallen Order on the PlayStation 5. So it really just depends on what type of game I'm playing, but yeah, pretty much.
All right. To make another one. Okay. This one's fun. What is your breaking point when it comes to game enjoyment? Are you next gen visuals or not playing? AAA or bust? No indies? Game must be 20 plus hours long or not worth it. Gameplay is king, etc. So yeah, what is your breaking point where you're like, nah, I'm not playing this?
Tony has a lot of these.
I have a lot of these,
I don't really have anything.
Online only, right? That's one. Survival game, no, I'm good. Roguelike, no thank you. Right? There's
genres.
MMO, no thank you.
Roguelike or rogue light.
Yeah, no thank you. Don't want that. So yeah, for me it's a lot of genres. I'm like, yeah, like shitty art house indie game, I'm good. Yeah. I think it's easier to name the genres I like than the ones I don't like, because I don't like most game genres. Get some fucking text adventure bullshit. Now I'm good. I could go on forever, but yeah, needless to say, those kind of genres, I'm good. I'm good. Don't
Logic Wins brings up one of mine: racing simulators.
Yeah, but by the way, here's mine, Carlos. Anything that's not Burnout, no, I'm good.
Forza Horizon's pretty good, but
it ain't Burnout.
It definitely ain't no Burnout Paradise. That's for sure. But the Forza Motorsports and the Gran Turismos, even though I did play them, or at least Gran Turismo I used to play a lot back in the PlayStation 1 days. But now these days it's like, nah, this isn't fun. This is just trying to mimic something I can do in real life. I mean, obviously not to the extent, but it's not.
It's been a long time since I've played a car game.
Yep.
There's nothing.
Yo, J Shep, set your alarm next time, brother. He got a he's like, fuck, I forgot to alarm. We already answered your shit and everything, man. So you'll listen to it later.
other than like the sort of more arcade, I prefer more of the arcadey type titles. If I were to play any car games, in fact, That was I told Tony about the Burnout games. I'm like, yo, dude, you gotta check
Yeah,
this
man.
game
Yeah,
out.
yeah. You helped me get into them. I'm like, okay, I'll check these out, and they're fucking awesome.
They're awesome.
But they ruined all other racing games for me. They
Yeah.
did. I'm like, after that, I'm like, I'm good. You know, and it's been sad too, man. I play other racing games. I'm trying to replicate the crashes. They don't do it. I'm like, You know,
No.
it's like, do these sound like the actions of a man who's gotten his burnout? No, they don't. You know.
Those Burnout games are like the Michael Bay of car games.
Yeah.
You know,
They really are.
just satisfying and stupid. For me, the breaking point is sort of repetitive actions. Like, in other words, the points where you can feel that the game is essentially artificially pushing, artificially extending the length by making you do the same thing over and over and over and over again. You know, I would put the Muso games on that thing, because I feel like the Muso games do not have the
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's another one for me, man.
yeah,
You know?
like those games don't have the. You can totally feel that they're just throwing a bunch of enemies at you, and the thing is that the combat is not. Riku would beg to differ, but I would say the combat is not, something that I enjoy playing, even though I do like sort of, beat 'em ups or, like whatever, not whatever you want to, like fighting type games like that, but, that, but I don't try to cut off any genre. At least I have ones that are my favorite, but I'll try to give it, if it's something along the lines that are something I'll like, I might give it a chance. So I'm not really into rogue likes or rogue lights, but if there's a game out there that somehow manages to buck that trend, I'll let it do what it needs to do. But so far, nothing has really attracted me enough to do, to go into those genres.
My thing is simple. Like, if I try 3 games in a genre and I don't like it, that means I don't like the genre. Again, I don't understand the aversion to, like, admitting you have a preference and that you don't have preferences. Like, for example, listen, you could cook me the best salmon on earth. I don't like salmon. That's just the way it is. People need to embrace that. It's okay to not like things, No,
I did, but I think, like, the one thing is that when you say you don't like something, immediately people start to go, but why?
Yeah,
why don't you?
Have you tried this? Yes, I have. Shut the fuck up. I hate that shit. Ooh, like, dude, shut up,
It's like, can we just be like, hey, listen, they don't like this, then they don't try to suggest it.
Yeah. Pretty much. Brett, what's a game breaking thing for you where you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm not doing this. I can't do this.
Looter shooters, I can't really do the looter shooters so much anymore, like the Destinies and the whatnot. Just not big into driving games, but other than that, I'll pretty much give it a shot.
Brett, I'm kind of with you on looter shooters now, bro.
Kind
of with you on them now, man. I liked them for a moment, but yeah.
Again, when I told you about repetitive actions,
yeah,
that was what I saw with the original Destiny. When I played that demo, I was like, you know what? I don't like this. You know what? It's like, if we're just gonna be going to the same locations, grinding for weapons and shit, I don't want it.
Yeah. Brian.
I'm mostly the same as you, Tony. Like, if there's like a genre that I've tried a few times and I just don't like, then I just won't play it again. So, but again, I do try quite a few genres, but I do have some turn-offs as well. And this is why I love Tony. Like, survival games, like, we both do that same reaction of like, oh, come on, what is this shit? Like, I don't want to play this.
Whenever
Really? You have to chop down this fucking tree and make wood? Really? Oh, no. What? I have to wipe my ass and, like, what? No, what are we doing here?
Whenever I hear that term, like survival game, I instantly get turned away from it. I really don't like the grindiness of that.
Yeah, it's too much, man.
Yeah, it's just it's so funny because I just hear Tony's reaction and I'm like, I'm exactly like right 110% Tony. I'm just survival games, like, nope, like I don't want to micromanage like my feeding and hunger. I find it somewhat tedious. Like, granted, it does improve the immersion, but at the same time, I just find it slightly tedious.
Yeah, like I understand, and I'm pretty sure you could say I understand the appeal. Cool, not for me.
Yep. And I'm not saying that games shouldn't do that. Games should do that because people like that. So great for them. I'm happy for them, but no. Another one is whenever someone like in those conferences stand up and say, "Oh yeah, this game is cinematic." It's like, so it just means that there will be a section where I'll just be walking and the character will just be talking. Okay, sweet. Or there will be cutscenes where stuff happens that looks really cool, but I'm not doing it, so it's kind of pointless. Again, I would highlight the train sequence in Uncharted. Like, it is great. The end sequence of that, it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's really exciting, but at the same time, I can only experience that once. When I tried to play it again for the platinum, I was going through and I was like, it just does not have the same effect. But yet, what did have the same effect, I think, was Uncharted 1, when you're in one of the buildings and it gets hit with like an RPG attack, and then the building like starts to fall over. I thought that was great. If Uncharted had more sequences like that, where you're playing through the cinematic moment, then I think I'd like it more.
Yeah.
Unnecessary RPG mechanics. It's a massive turn off for me. This is why I didn't like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn and Redfall. It's just, there's no need in any of this. Like, why is it that in Redfall you have perk points to give you more ammo? Why? It makes no sense. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Why does every game need to try to be an RPG? Let RPGs be RPGs.
They want you to stay longer.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
that's it.
But then that puts me off, so that I don't play it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, real quick.
In an attempt to keep me, it loses me.
Yeah, exactly. Just real quick, Brian. Jay Shep says he doesn't like quick time events. So, but again, we're not talking about gameplay mechanics that we don't like. We are obviously to that extent, but we're saying gameplay mechanics that, or genres or whatever, that will kill your, like, just make you go, fuck this, I'm not playing this anymore. So do games with quick time events turn you off? Because if that's the case, you probably don't like Spider-Man, because those have quick time events. So does God of War.
But the thing is, with QTEs, almost every game that I've played that has QTEs, if you go to settings, you can turn that off. The Spider-Man ones, you can turn them off.
Okay,
God of War, you can turn them off. You don't have to do those.
Modern games turn them off.
Yeah, modern, not the old ones. We'll play Resident Evil 4, on PS2,
Go play God of War, the first three.
Yeah, go play all of those. You can turn those off. Okay, so he says that is his deal breaker. All right, cool. Go ahead, Brian.
Here's another one that made Tony cringe. Mobile games.
Yes. You tell me mobile game, I'm fucking done instantly. I don't give a shit what it is. I
remember that one E3 where they had that Command and Conquer game, and it was all going well, and then they mentioned that it's a mobile game, and then I could just feel like Tony and I just dying on the inside. It's like, oh no, why?
Yeah. Oh, Brian, what was the worst when they said that fucking Splinter Cell mobile game? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What a turn! That is the biggest. I tweeted about this. One of the biggest turnoffs I have in anything. You tell me any game is a mobile game, I'm fucking done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'd rather play Switch than a mobile game. At least the Switch is a real fucking console I could touch. It's like, this is for calling people and checking shit on Twitter, not for playing games. I'll go off on fucking mobile games, man. Fuck that shit. Anyway, go on, Brian.
No, I think that's mostly it. So, apart from that, I will try most things, but as I said, I'll try it, but I don't know how far I'll get. So yeah.
I got another one for Sony.
Throwdown will never be sponsored by Shadow Raid Legends or where the fuck that shit is. You know that one that YouTubers always promote.
Yeah,
World of Tanks. Yeah, World of Tanks. Like, we're probably not gonna get sponsored by that bullshit. Anyway, go ahead, Carlos. Yes, absolutely. Switch is better than mobile. Fuck mobile, man. That's the lowest of the low. That's just shit. Anyway, go on, Carlos.
Any so for Tony, I think like 98% of the games Brett likes.
I like how specific as 98%,
Because there is that crossover.
Yeah.
There's a little crossover.
Yeah. Like Soulsborne, we like those games, Yeah, pretty much. Pokemon Go and Solitaire. Nah, son.
Yeah,
Solitaire is cool though, but play it on your PC. Don't play it on a fucking mobile.
The graphics.
The graphics I got. All right, did everybody go? That was a fun question. I like that one.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Last question of the night. This one is actually legitimately controversial. I'm gonna ask it, but just as in the case of these type of questions, when it deals with culture war stuff, I will refrain from answering it. So apologies, but I don't want to be canceled, so I'm not answering. But I'll let the guys do their thing. This is from Logic Wins. Following in the footsteps of Bud Light and Miller Lite, Dove and Epic Games have recently released an ad regarding heavier set women not being adequately represented as video game characters. The question is there a line we should draw with regard to representation in video games? Is there any benefit that can be derived from having more overweight game characters?
This is a Brian question.
And I specifically took out a specific word from it because I don't. Again,
Why is it a Brian question?
Yeah,
You're the one that talks about.
Say he's overweight. Is that what he's saying? Saying he's overweight.
You're saying that I need to lose weight? What is
Right,
this?
you-
Colin?
no, he's saying that because Brian, you kind of alluded to it in the last episode.
Is
Well, yeah. By the way, I should make it have it. If you're not comfortable answering this question, you don't have to. Anybody.
okay. The question is there a line where it matters? But the problem is the idea itself has no line, because someone needs to draw a line and say, okay, this is where the buck stops. Because if you say that you want to represent everyone, then that means that you need to represent everyone. That means represent the good of the people and the bad of the people. Not saying who is who. Choose my words very carefully here for that reasons. So yeah, at some point someone will need to draw the line and say this is where the buck stops. But then at that point, the same argument can be levied in that, oh, you're not representing people. Hence, the people that claim to represent, that have drawn the line, have broken their own reasoning to exist, in that you can't represent if you're not representing. So it's kind of an oxymoron. It's either all or nothing. And that's why I say, you know what? Go for it. You can do it. I don't have to buy it, and I won't buy it. That's it. That's just how my philosophy is. It's like you can put whatever nonsense you want in your video games. I don't have to buy it, and I should be allowed to laugh and criticize it, because I think that's a sane society.
I mean, to be honest, the one thing I don't see the problem with representation when it comes to the making. I always have an issue with the character just being that what it is. Essentially, they're just sort of a kind of a filling a quota sort of character, and don't really have any sort of character of their own. So if we have a character that is overweight, or is a larger character, all their life, all their existence is about them being overweight, and that is not a real person. So to be honest, I feel like when it comes to representation, it's not only just about representing the visual. It's also about actually creating a good character, or a well-rounded person that all people can relate to.
Is that a pun, Money?
But I feel like a lot of what happens with a lot of the industry is that they aren't relatable characters. They are just sort of these sort of cardboard cutouts that look just so happen to have the shape of what is what is there. You know what I mean? Like what needs to be filled.
Here's the thing with me, and Logic Wins. I apologize if I don't answer the question the way you asked it. I feel like video games stories most of them are not good, and they're getting sucked into this bigger political discussion where if it's a fat character, people are going to get triggered either way. If there's oh no, like, so like, oh, you're clearly like they label a game just based off of a character, and we still haven't played the game. We don't know what it's about. It could hold all the baggage that the people are saying it's going to hold. We don't know. But we're prejudging.
People projecting onto it also, right?
Yeah, and the whole thing with all this stuff is we're invoking modern day and Twitter politics into video games, where a lot, sometimes like stuff is created for a purpose, a sole purpose. A lot of these games are created in a freaking lab with hundreds of people doing a lot of different decisions, and most of them aren't even tied together. And the whole thing with video games is they're creating characters when most video game characters aren't fully fledged out. Like, is Link a fully fledged out character? No. So it's
Not
like,
really.
Is Mario a fully fledged character? No. It's like most of these characters.
He's overweight.
Is fucking Master Chief a fully fledged character? Not really.
He's Robo.
So it's if there's some people that think, oh, if it fits this criteria, then it's going to make it better, and then other people think, oh, if it fits this criteria, it's going to make the game worse. And I feel like that culture war is seeping into video games, where everyone is fucking triggered, and you can't even judge a game by the way it is. People are just prejudging everything and just making their decisions before they even get to play the video games.
And I mean, that you also got to look at the players. The players are also representing in a different light. There's so many Twitch streamers, YouTubers that I've watched play certain games, and they'll create a character that doesn't look anything like them. And I'm looking at a person, I can clearly see it's a heavyset person, but they're making this tall, super buff looking dude, and that's perfectly fine. Project that image.
I mean, did anybody have any issues with Fat Princess?
No.
He badgered that game trying to come out now.
But it's if the fan base, if the players want to create a character that looks different than how they look in the real world, is that wrong? Then I mean, there's certain things that you do, and I'm sure they've had the developers have done the focus groups and stuff, and like, hey, this is how people see things. They may think it's more believable to see a Nathan Drake at like 150 pounds running around, jumping and climbing, parkouring, doing stuff. And if you had somebody that was like 300, they would say that's unbelievable, because in real life, someone of that weight cannot shimmy off of ledges and do all that stuff. So it's not so much you want to shame.
Or Vin Diesel in those Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah, there you go. That's definitely wrong. That whole thing is when he did the XXX movies. Remember that? Just like flying around, it was dumb. But if people don't want to project that as a character, if they don't want to create that character, then who's to argue that developers have to do it?
Yeah.
I feel like
go ahead.
I feel like in our world, like in our current world, people would start questioning a character like Hurley, right? Like whether nowadays people be wondering if he was the diversity hire, or if he was just or something else.
Hurley from Lost,
what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, Hurley from Lost. Like I feel like now, like, people are questioning stuff, like, because of just the way things are going, people are just questioning things like that.
People are still upset because here it is, they're on this island, they had limited food, they were always talking about it,
and
but he never
fat.
lost weight.
Yeah.
He was always fat.
Yeah.
And I think that actually played a big part with Stranger Things last season. Because Hawkins, if you ever watched it, The Cop, he was a husky dude.
Yeah.
And he purposely lost a lot of weight because they were like, oh, you're going to be in this situation.
Well, no, he he was going to be in Hellboy, so he lost a shitload of weight.
But it worked perfectly with that, and he kept that off, and it looked great. I mean, it went best with the scene, but that's something that a lot of people are like, yeah, how come everybody's starving on Lost, and this dude looks just the same?
But yeah, I don't see an issue with trying to do it, with attempting to do it. But I think the one thing about it is that when we have people trying to pat themselves on the back for essentially just doing what, if we're seeing the world, I feel that is also a problem too. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you put this type of character in the game. You don't need the tap on the back because you decided to think about it. If anything, it should just be there, just like anything else, right?
I mean, and this isn't exclusive to just this type of character. The last couple of years, there's always stories about every type of character. Every type of character. If it's a muscular dude, if it's a woman-led character, if it's anything, there's always someone from whatever side of the political spectrum they champion online, always trying to start something from. A lot of stuff is really based off of nothing. Yeah. And it sucks that these type of conversations are going on and we can't even talk about video games.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. Just to go back to like what you guys have mentioned earlier with the Fat Princess, there's a character in Tekken called Bob, who's a rather large set guy.
Yeah.
It came out, there was nothing about it. Like, there was no controversy, no nothing. So I think, and I think Carlos will agree with me on this one, the issue isn't the fact that there is different people. The issue is that there's just different people, but nothing behind them. It's very surface level stuff.
Yeah. They're just they're essentially, the shape, but not really any sort of anything else.
Yeah, it's just there's no substance to them. And it gets even worse because sometimes these people are just their personalities are just their identities, and that's where it just gets really dull because then it just gets boring. It's like I don't. It just kind of like makes me think that people are just really stupid out there. We've had games where they've had protagonists that were certain people, and we've all been like, yeah, this protagonist is a bad character in the sense of he's unlikable, but yet somehow the narrative is now just, oh yeah, they've always been successful. It's like, no, they've been protagonists that have been awful, and for different reasons. And then it kind of gets even weirder where you kind of flip the switch, and all of a sudden you can't say a character in a game or film or TV show is bad, or else you get called out for saying, "Oh yeah, you're like you don't like women." It's like, no, Captain Marvel just sucked. It's like if I can't turn around and say Captain Marvel sucked because she's just an awful character, then how am I able to say Aiden Pierce? Aiden Pierce? Watch Dogs 1.
Yeah, Aiden Pierce. Yeah.
Aiden Pierce. Yeah, he was horrible.
Aiden Pierce is just an awful character because he's just awful. Like, I don't know. It's just odd.
Because it automatically becomes a question of, are you everybody starts to think, oh, well, the reason why you're criticizing this thing is because it's this thing that's considered, this type of person that's always, getting ragged on for being what they were. But it's like, no, you can still have an utterly atrocious main character and they still fit within those shapes, The thing about it is, again, like, to be honest, I always saw like characters that are all kinds of different races, colors, and all kinds of other stuff as ambassadors of those communities. And I feel like most of the time, these characters are doing utterly atrocious jobs of representing their communities as actual diverse type people. Like, in other words, their identity is what they are, and that's all it is. And to be honest, that is the weakness in a lot of the writing that is going on. It's like, they can't be anything more than this. Like if you're a character that's like a fat or overweight character, all of their identity is about them being overweight.
Well, why? Here's my question: why can't you just control it? Like, I understand that you have narrative games where you're playing a main character, but like, take the Commander Shepard approach, right? Like, you should be able to take that main character and then adjust it however you want. If you want to play a fat blue girl, play a fat blue girl. That's fine. But I don't feel like it's right to impose that kind of thing on people that aren't necessarily down. Like, I get it. There's a virtue to signal there, but it's, one, people don't like being virtue signaled at, and two, some people, they have issues around weight, man. Like, in the other sense, like, maybe they go to the gym a lot and they don't want to spend, like, they're just going to get real offended by having to play somebody who's overweight when they work that hard to begin with. Maybe they have body dysmorphia or anorexia issues. Like, you open a whole bunch of other issues when you start pandering to one specific group. So I'm just kind of myself, like, let you make your character whatever you want, and then sure, you can have fat girls, and like, you should have different body types, especially in like role-playing games. Like, some villagers should be skinny, some villagers should be fat, some villagers should be tall, some should be short. I don't think that anybody is against that. I think it's just technical limitations that have kind of kept it from being that. It's just been reskins of different characters. But like, especially if you have alien races or in a fantasy setting or something like that, like, I want to see a fat orc. Absolutely, 100%. Do I want to be forced to play a fat orc? No, I don't want to play a fat character or an orc character.
Well, you guys remember in Invincible? Do you remember when Kirkman decided to make one of the characters go through an eating disorder and just stay fat? And that was a big deal, and it was on both sides of the fence. Some people were like, "Oh, this is great representation." Others like, always making fun of fat poop. There's look at it. It looks weird. She looks weird with the outfit on and stuff, and she's always
Adam Eve, right?
Yeah. It's like, come on now. And he was like, "No, I'm representing." He saw the big picture. Like, hey, I've never seen this before. Let me throw it in my comic.
Well,
to be honest, Adam Eve actually looked better.
Invincible
thicker.
actually said that there was one comic where she was kind of self-conscious, and he's like, I like the bigger ass. By the way, I'm just throwing this out here because just asking a question since J Shep brought it up. Should a game have a trans character as a main character? I think Tell Me Why did.
Here's the thing.
I could be wrong about that, but I believe Tell Me Why did.
We never see a character's gender. Okay, you want to play trans characters? Here's what you do. If you're a female and you want to play a female to male trans character, as a female, pick a male character and tell yourself that that's what's in her pants. Like, even in games with romanceable partners, you don't know what's down there. So why does the game have to have the imagination for you when it leaves it open-ended?
It's an interesting thing because, like, especially if for a game that's like maybe like how would you know? I guess maybe you could have a character that has a different voice than I don't know.
Funny thing is, I was just about to say something very similar. It's like, how can you tell somebody is trans? And that question itself, to answer it, it's a big rabbit hole, and it's very interesting the type of answers people give out, because then it does imply lots of things that people don't like to hear, which is even funnier. Because then it's like, but it's answering the question. It's like, okay, you can have a main character that's trans, but how do you know that they're trans? They have to do X, Y, Z.
Technically, trans is transitory. And like, if you want to be real woke about it, like, once you fully transitioned, you're just now that gender. The only game that I've seen that actually did it, weirdly enough, I think it was Dark Souls 2. There was just a random coffin. If you got in the coffin, you just popped out the opposite gender. There was no explanation, no lead up. You're just like, what's this? Oh, I'm a lady now. All right.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because, like, there is there's a lot that comes with trans. Like, again, like, it also, like, in the medieval world, right? If there wasn't really any sort of trans person, right? There was just like if you saw yourself as a woman, you would dress as a woman, or if you saw yourself as a man, you dressed as a man, and then you would just be addressed as that. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, like it'd have to be part of a story, especially like if it were like let's say it's a fantasy setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have somebody who, they were born a boy, but like they got a high level wizard to cast like a polymorph spell on him, change him into a girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you run into their super shitty uncle who's just having a real hard time with it, but that's part of like a side quest where like you just. You got to be like, dude, chill the fuck out. A wizard.
Well, yeah, but like the thing about it is that like something like that would also somewhat have to be. Would it have to be part of the plot? Like, because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to like certain types of people, I think a lot of the communities want to throw a giant pin in it. Like, in other words, a big giant signpost that points down to the character and says, "This is what it is."
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. The community doesn't want subtlety or good writing or
exactly. So, like, if you were going to do like a effective trans character or a person that is transitioned, you wouldn't know, right? Unless they put that in the game. But then wouldn't that be signposting?
Well, I mean, like I'm talking about if there was a character that wasn't you. Like you could run into something and you could tackle subjects like like people from their past not accepting it kind of thing. Like you could and a shitty old uncle and this person and there it's a quest line. You can choose a side, do whatever the fuck you want. Like you can do that, but if it's your character, you like unless you transition in the game.
Yeah,
I don't see how it's a thing because you're already that thing.
Wasn't there a game that actually did that where the character just nonchalantly just said, "Oh yeah, when I was this," and then they just left it at there?
Yeah, I think that was in the Harry Potter game recently.
Not quite. I think, man, you're thinking of Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. In Cyberpunk, there was a trans character. I'm not going to say who, because obviously people might not have played it yet. So yeah, I thought that still was the best way to do it in that... Yeah. It wasn't really part of. I can't mention. It wasn't part of the plot line that character had. They mentioned it a very offhand way, and everything to do with their quest line was just to do with they had a love life. Their lover was killed off. They want revenge.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, that's just a plot line that anybody can have. Not necessarily whether you're trans or not trans, but the idea that they were trans didn't play into the storyline.
But obviously, within that, there is a very relatable thing. It's like somebody that you loved got somebody this character loved got killed, and they want revenge. Which is, I feel like again, I would say that would be a good example of a character doing a good job of being the ambassador for that for that type of person. Whereas, in other words, they are relating to the viewer in a level that they can understand, and I feel like that is the key to a lot of diversity. It's not the fact that these characters are what they are; it's the fact that you can relate to them despite what they look like.
But Manny, that's you're using logic here, and let's say something controversial here. I don't think most people have an issue with the core concept behind identity politics in games and movies and media and things like that. I think the problem is that they're never well written. Like they can be an interesting backdrop to tell some things, but again, somebody's just like, by the way, I grab me some Pringles from the gas station. By the way, I'm trans. Like it's just not good writing, even down to if you look at basic script writing. One of the best scripts that agreed upon by most people is Back to the Future. And if you watch the first 5 minutes of that, they tell you so much without doing any of the cliche hey mom, how are you? They don't have any there. If you read the script, there is no unnecessary lines in there. Everything tells you at least two pieces of information, and there's nothing there to broadcast relationships between characters. It builds it through dialogue and situation.
Yeah,
right.
There's no, and they always call that movie the perfect script because it's essentially anything that it introduces, it completes, anything, any information, even all the information that you see on screen is also is resolved, and all that kinds of other stuff. It's a very well written movie.
So yeah, as I've said before, and I know Tony makes me put an asterisk behind this because it wasn't booted up like this, but like X-Men is a great example, man. Like it's subtly about racism, but also not so subtly, but enough removed that it's not a one-to-one thing, and people don't feel like they're beaten over the head about it. Art is a good opportunity to take ideas and themes and pull them apart from reality and stretch them and play with them and look at them from different angles, right? And that shit's just not palpable when you're trying to one-to-one ram your ideas down somebody's throat. Right? If you have faith in your ideas, open them up for discussion, for thought, for art to actually do the thing that art does, and play with it.
And it makes you think. Like again, like if we talk about the X-Men, it's like, yeah, you do. It is about racism. It's also somewhat has that sort of civil rights thing on top of it, but at the same time, you're still this is one part of the story, and then if you do realize that, you're like, oh wait, holy shit, that's what they're doing, that's great. And then you just made the leap, you just went down and essentially thought about this thing, which is good. But again, a lot of Brett talks about a lot of writing just very much tends to be on the nose writing.
I was about to interject and just briefly touch on X-Men 3. It's actually one of the reasons I liked parts of that film. It was the part when Rogue, I think Rogue was talking to Storm because they had the cure and she wanted to get the cure, and then Rogue was like, oh yeah, I want to get the cure for various reasons, and then Storm was like, no, you should be proud of who you are, and they had that back and forth. That back and forth I thought was really good because you can apply that to most things, in that as a individual you're trying to fit in a situation, and hence do you try your best to fit in that situation and go with whatever is happening, or B, do you not do that? And again, that can be applied to pretty much most things in life. Again, you can apply it to racism, sexism, cats, racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever, and it still applies because again, it's well written. It's just the idea of do you exist as being different, or do you want to fit in with everyone else? And that transcends most ideas because it's not tied down to anything. It's just out there. It's probably not the best way to explain that, but that's, again, when you guys were bringing up the X-Men, I just thought of that exchange. I thought it's well written, makes sense.
Very X-Men.
Yes.
By the way, real quick, Jay Shep and I had a Abbott and Costello moment in the chat.
Who's on first?
Because he was asked the question, right? Can you name should there be any games with a trans protagonist? Tell me why. He's like, no, I'm asking, should there be any games with a trans?
Oh no, yeah,
and I'm like, tell me why. And he's like, I don't understand the question. I'm like, the name of the game is tell me why. like he thought I was asking him a question. Fucking hilarious. Anyway, I'm done with this conversation. No, we're done. And by the way, I'll just say this. Thank you guys for asking a question, and shout out to you guys in the panel. I think the way you handled it was very good, very good. We're not answering these type of questions ever again. This is very sticky territory. Throw it on. It's about not trying to get into this stuff. So thank you for asking. And again, to you guys in the panel for answering, but no, not doing this anymore. Just no.
I would say to be like, I feel like the one thing is that, like, we, again, like, I think a really good conversation came out of this.
It did, but again, I'm worried that somebody, even now or in the future, may take something and misconstrue it. You see it all the time. And I think it's just better that we just stay away from this culture war stuff.
Can I end it with this?
Can
I end it with one thing real quick? Play the games that you want to play. We had this discussion earlier today. There are things that about video games that make us not want to play those video games. Whether it's a gameplay mechanic, whether it's a genre, whether it's a racing simulator, there's always going to be something for fucking everything. Just play your games. Let people release whoever the people release. Let them release the games. Judge them the way that they should be judged, and judge them by their merits. And that's it. That's as best as we can do. This conversation will never lead to anything because there will always be two sides. There will always be bickering between both, and there's always going to be a shitload of sensitivity between both sides. So just for those that are sane, for those that are just don't want to delve into the hysteria, into the virtual signaling, into the identity politics, just play your games, judge them how they're supposed to be judged, and hopefully the best, good games persevere. However they're made, whoever their main characters are, or whatever the type of gameplay or genre they are, just leave it at that. Because whenever I play video games, I just play them the way that I've always played them. I don't put in politics or whatever people bicker about whenever talking about video games.
I mean, yeah, partially games are also about escapism and also escaping into a reality where you may not be playing you. So
yeah. All right, let's start wrapping it up here. Do we have anything to plug?
Adam?
No, we just have the latest episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I Am Negan. That's the podcast is out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. So if you're into The Walking Dead and you don't feel like watching Fear the Walking Dead, you can hear myself, Carlos, and Richard Bailey Jr. We just rip it apart because it's not good. And it's pretty sad. So hopefully they'll fix things up because this is the final season and it's done.
Well, no, they're not going to fix anything up. They're just going to end it. So they don't.
Yeah, that's it. Well, at least the story wraps up.
Fix
That's
it
what
by
we're
ending
hoping.
it.
Exactly. Well, it's a shame. It's a shame because it had its good times. And that's it. So that's I Am Negan. You can find that everywhere. So there you go.
All right, people, we are done here. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping in. Again, thank you guys for the conversations on Discord. That's where I get all the stories from. Makes it very easy for me to put shows together. So thank you for that. Throwdown is on every podcast app on the planet. Throwdown Show, 2 words, Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you're watching us on YouTube and enjoyed our videos, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Adam Vale.
Have a good week, everybody.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
And Brian Manjoma.
Just a couple of days left until the showcases.
Oh, here we go. And who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind and we'll do it live. I'm off this week, people. So who knows? We shall see. All right. But regardless, we will definitely be back on Thursday with reactions. So stay tuned for that. Later.
Peace.